Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing fantastically well. It's Connor here, and we are back with yet another video. Yes, everybody, that's 5 videos on the bounce. Make sure you're checking out all the content here at One Leeds HQ. Make sure you're liking all the content as well. Please, I want your opinion. Get it in the comment section below. I want to know what you think. Always, I read every single comment, and make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed for more delightful content like this. So today we're in with a conversation that we don't really want to discuss. We don't really want to utter. We don't want to comment on. We don't want to entertain it, do we? We don't want to entertain this sort of nonsense. But unfortunately, it could be an eventuality dependent on Leeds United's position. And we're going to get into it today because this isn't a snowflake channel. This isn't a channel where we avoid the big topics. We're here to discuss Kalvin Phillips and his future. And there's a lot to discuss. So wait till the end. We're going to get to my conclusion on exactly what I think will happen. But the reason why this is prevalent at the minute is because two of our big boys, Rafinha and Kalvin Phillips, are getting touted all over the place. Fabrizio Romano has had an update today discussing Deco's involvement with Rafinha, and apparently Deco's talking to Barcelona at this moment in time. I don't think it's categorized as tapping up the player because Leeds United aren't involved with it as such. So that's going to be interesting to see how that materializes with Barcelona. When I'm discussing Rafinha, I think I'm completely in agreement that he will leave this window. I understand that the agent Deco has a massive affiliation with Barcelona. Played with him for so many years. I love Deco as a player. What a player he was. But yeah, he's in negotiations at the minute with Barcelona, and it's going to be fascinating to see what happens there. I do think he'll go. I'm fine with him going to Barcelona, to be quite honest with you. The interesting part of that is going to be how on earth Leeds United replace this kid's goals, his assists, everything. His build-up play. The guy is just different level. He's world-class, and Leeds United replacing him is going to be an extremely difficult task, and I think a lot of people aren't taking this into consideration. They're not at all. It's almost sort of a, yeah, well, he's going, but I mean, I've actually seen some people saying he's going, but I don't care. And that is staggering to me. This guy is the most exciting player we've had since Harry Kewell. He is a phenomenal talent, and he single-handedly kept us up this year. So we lose him going into next season. If we are to keep a small squad, as we understand, and then we lose Rafinha on top of that, wow, that's going to be a real smash. A real smash to Leeds United's survival hopes, which I do think, dependent on the summer, will be something that we'll be discussing getting into the next season if Leeds don't do it properly. But anyway, by the by, that's all in the future. But we are talking about future things happening here. So Rafinha, the reason I wanted to talk about that is because I do think Rafinha will be on his way. I do think that'll happen this summer. So then we move on to Kalvin Phillips. The reason I wanted to talk about Kalvin is because it's a little bit more up in the air. And that's because a lot of people have been speaking about if Leeds do get relegated. And listen, if we do get relegated, he is leaving. He wants his England career to flourish. We all know that. He's part of the setup there now. Gareth Southgate loves him. Says he's a delight to manage, a delight to train with, a delight to have around the place. I'm sure he's been missed on England camp now. And he's a top player. We all know he's a top player. So is he going to languish with Leeds in the Championship? No, that will not happen. He will be gone. So it's imperative Leeds stay in the Premier League, but as well, to get the biggest value for him and Rafinha, we need to stay in this division. You know, that's one of the huge factors. The club need to make money from these two players if they are to move on in the dire situation of Leeds being down in the Championship. But Kalvin Phillips has been touted to be going to Aston Villa for 60 million. Villa have been very, very interested in Kalvin Phillips for a number of years now. I think it was back in the Championship they were interested in him, and in the Premier League, obviously, when we didn't get promoted. Apparently Villa were the team that put in an offer for him. Leeds knocked it back. It worked out in the long run for Leeds. Leeds got promoted the season afterwards, but Villa have maintained their interest. You can see why Gerrard would like him as well, just in that defensive midfield role. I don't know if he'd be partnering someone like John McGinn. Maybe Douglas Luiz would move on. I'm not really sure how it works at Aston Villa. I know they can play a 4-4-2 diamond. They can play a 4-2-3-1 as a double pivot. They can play a 4-3-3 and one defensive midfielder. So there's a variation of tactics, but it looks like he's gone more to a 4-4-2 diamond, Gerrard, just to accommodate Phil Coutinho. So obviously Kalvin would be perfect in that double pivot role if he was to be a single double pivot. But for me, it's really interesting with regards to this whole rumour, because I think if Kalvin is to move on, And what I want to get on first is the richest clubs, guys, because I think a lot of people don't understand just how rich Aston Villa are, and they are a very, very, very well-funded club. We're just going to touch on a few bits here by the Birmingham Mail, who illustrated this. I think it was in 2021 when they were talking about the wealthiest clubs. Villa owners Sawaris and Edens are not eligible as they are based abroad. I think they're talking about some financial league that they're supposed to be in here. According to Forbes, Sawiris, I could be murdering that name, by the way, is worth 6.47 billion, and Edens is 840 million, giving them a combined wealth of 7.31 billion, which puts them amongst the richest owners in the Premier League. I think there's a lot of fans who probably don't get how sort of rich Villa are. They are a massively, massively financially capable club. You look at the move of Luca Dean, when apparently there was loads of European clubs looking at Dean and putting offers in for him. Villa were able to get his services. I don't know how much of Phil Coutinho's wages they are paying, but they are paying Phil Coutinho's wage, and to attract him and potentially to get him over the line after this summer, they're going to have to offer a huge financial package. But to attract him to Birmingham, Aston Villa, it's a huge thing for the club. They're able, they've been spending big money for years, Villa. For years, even when they came up to the Premier League, spending, I know it's not a lot nowadays, but when you come up for the first time, spending 15 to 20 on Matty Cash, putting big sums up for Tammy Abraham, not getting him in the long run, but they are a very, very, as I've said, financially able club. So Kalvin Phillips really would be a drop in the ocean, in my personal opinion. But I do think they would have to go big, and when I say a drop in the ocean, I think I'm talking about longevity for Villa, because I think your 50s, your 60 millions is going to become a thing in the next sort of 3 or 4 years if they want to hit their projection, which is the top 6. They've not been beating the top 6 clubs at all this year. They've really been faltering, which was highlighted by the 1-0 loss to Arsenal. And I just look at Villa and I think they're not in that place yet. They are not in that place yet. And this is with completely good intentions. There's no disparaging comments here. But I think if Kalvin's to move on, you got England Player of the Year. He's been, allegedly Tottenham Hotspur came in for him as well whilst Leeds were in the Championship and Leeds knocked it back. But I think there's a lot of big clubs who he would fit into. A lot of big clubs where he would fit into. You look at Fernandinho leaving Manchester City. You look at Ten Hag coming in at Manchester United, and that is something that I want to touch on. And we don't like it. We don't want to discuss it. We've seen some of our favoured sons cross the Pennines before. I don't think it will happen with Kalvin Phillips, but I think it's really interesting to know how he would fit in if Ten Hag was to go to Manchester United. Because I think that's the only eventuality where Kalvin Phillips would move there, and this would be. I don't think Kalvin would do it. And I know there'll be Villa fans on here saying, well, Jack Grealish, we didn't expect him to do it. But I think it is a completely different scenario. But Phillips, I think if Leeds are able to stay in the Premier League, if they're able to offer him a bumper contract, I personally believe that we would be able to keep him at the club. But when you're looking at Manchester United, when you're looking at Ten Hag, if he is to come in, you look at Gravenberch, you look at the players that they've got in that system. Alvarez, they play with a double pivot. They deploy a Manchester City-esque system. Ten Hag absolutely loves the way Pep Guardiola plays. He's based his entire model, his entire philosophy on Pep Guardiola. It's all about the double pivot, the defensive midfield. They're splitting the centre-backs, receiving the ball there, almost making a back three and switching the ball. An aggressive player in that double pivot as well, someone who's mobile. So Manchester United need a defensive midfielder. You look at McTominay, you look at Fred. Those two are not going to be good enough. They're not mobile enough. They're not good enough on the ball. They don't read the game as well as Kalvin Phillips, and they're not that natural double pivot position who can move up the field into a little bit of a 6 and sort of deploy similar attributes. So I believe that if there was one club who were going to come in for him and Kalvin Phillips might take a look at, it would be Manchester United. But that would be in a horrendous scenario. If we're just talking Champions League wise, we're just talking about Europe, we're just talking about big clubs, it would be that realm. It wouldn't be Aston Villa at the minute. That's my 2 cents. I don't believe that Aston Villa are in the realm really where he would move to Leeds and it would be a step up. Might be a step up financially, but I just don't see it. I mean, realistically, depending on Jesse Marsh, depending on Leeds this summer, you could have an eventuality where Leeds finish above Aston Villa next year. Do you see what I mean? I think with obviously Manchester United, they're in the top 4, 5, 6 realm at worst. So hopefully that won't happen, but you can see with Ten Hag when they actually bring in a philosophy and identity, why and you've heard the rumours of them absolutely loving Kalvin Phillips, unfortunately, and they're speaking of him all the time. And you better believe that if we are to go down, they are 100% going to come in for him. But I don't think it'll happen. I'll be honest with you, and the reason I don't think it'll happen is comments that Kalvin's made before. He's made it even this season where he said, I love this club. I want to be with this club in the Premier League and I want a new contract. You know, for example, when Alan Smith was leaving to go to Manchester United, if we're using that as an example, it was completely different circumstances. Leeds were in financial meltdown. I think it's quite likely this year Leeds do stay in the Premier League. It's more likely than not. So on that eventuality, I don't understand why Kalvin wouldn't sign a new contract. You know, he's still going to be picked for England, which is clearly his baby. He absolutely loves playing for England. And hopefully then, I mean, Jesse Marsch has been coming out in the past couple of weeks and saying that Leeds want to win trophies. So, you know, if we put some serious investment in the summer, if we're able to really progress in the next couple of years, you know, you look at Villa, Villa finished, 17th, I believe, in the first year. It was a controversial goal, which Sheffield United should have had, which a lot of people say has kept Villa up. You know, we've not had that eventuality yet. It's not gone down to the last day. Hopefully it won't do, but we're on similar wavelengths, I think. Obviously, Aston Villa are a little bit richer, but I think there needs to be more there. I think if Kalvin was to move to Aston Villa, they've got to be years down the line and getting top 4, top 5, because I think that's Kalvin's next move. I think Kalvin Phillips and Rafinha are proper assets to this club and players who could play at the highest level. Let me know what you think in the comment section below anyway, guys. I wanted to make this video. Do you disagree? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you think Kalvin will remain at Leeds United next season? I personally do, but I don't think Rafinha will. And if that money is invested into the way that, you know, the Jesse Marsch way, and we're able to cultivate a real proper system going into next season, and we're able to thicken up the squad, even if it is with a 22-man squad, which Orta's talking about, which I think is ridiculous. But if we've got quality within those ranks, if we're not struggling with injuries all the time, then hopefully we're going to profit from it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, guys.